What's going on, everybody? We are still going strong during the Sundance Film Festival. I am Lauren DeLisa Coleman for the Inside series at film.io, and this is an interview that is about a topic that's so timely. I mean, it's just like insane that they were able to do all of this and end up in Sundance. Like, I don't know, they have to be like miracle workers. So I'm so excited to bring to the show Rachael, DeCruz, and Jeremy Levine. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here and happy to chat with you about the film.
Our absolute pleasure. We're going to try and do this in 17 minutes because they're in high demand, you guys, and back to back. So we got to keep it moving. The name of the film is the Panola Project. And which of you guys wants to take or do the honors of giving us a quick synopsis of the film?
I can do that one.
It seems like that's going to Rachael, so yes.
Yes. So the Panola Project follows the story of Dorothy Oliver, who's a retired county administrator, as she launches a vaccination campaign to keep her rural Black community safe from COVID. We watch her go door knocking. She's running kind of a vaccine logistics hub out of her convenience store. And we watch her interact with her neighbors and also bring a pop-up clinic to Panola so that people can get their vaccines locally.
So it's just really rather amazing because this is in Alabama. I don't think that you mentioned that. And while Alabama as a state is not much vaccinated, however you would say that, this particular town ended up being 99% vaccinated. So tell us, I guess, first, how did you guys come to tell this story? What is it that, I guess, kind of drew you to it? And how did you find out about Dorothy and co.?
Yeah, so I mean, we were living in Alabama at the time. It was about a year ago from now, and you know, we'd already been living with the pandemic for a year. The insurrection had just happened. We, finally had some hope on the horizon, right? There was a new vaccine that came out in miraculous time. I mean, not only did it come out in miraculous time, but it worked so much better than most experts were predicting it would. And yet, so much of the country remained unvaccinated. There were real structural barriers, which, we go into a lot in the film. There was hesitation. There was, things were getting politicized. And all of this was wildly depressing, right? We were in Alabama, which at the time had the lowest vaccination rate in the country. And we were just like, I can't sit on the couch anymore and read the news on my phone and feel awful about the state of the world. That I know there's people doing good things out there. And so let's go do that. Really, it was like a selfish thing in some ways. It was like, I need to feel better, but also I think if we find this story that can give us hope, we can share that with the world. And so, yeah, we had heard about this woman who had taken upon herself. She was basically running a vaccination campaign from the convenience store that she was running in this small town of about 350 people. It's a town called Panola, Alabama, by the Mississippi border. And yeah, we tried to find a phone number to call her and see if she would be interested, and we couldn't find a working number. So we just hopped in the car and drove an hour to Panola. And yeah, it was just, we walked in, we had this amazing conversation that went on for maybe 3 hours. It was probably one of the longest conversations we had in real life with somebody since the start of the pandemic that wasn't the two of us or our cat. So that was thrilling to begin with. And yeah, I mean, we were just immediately blown away by what Dorothy was doing. Just being in that room in that convenience store with her for that time lifted our spirits immediately. And it was clear there was a good story here with a good narrative arc that the world would benefit from seeing, right? She was on a mission to vaccinate her community. She was going to be running this campaign, going door to door. She was going to be trying to bring a pop-up clinic into her community. which is cut off from healthcare systems. And so people didn't have easy access to the shots. And so, yeah, it immediately was like, we have to make this film. There was kind of no choice. There was no going back at that point.
Well, I love how you were just like, I'm, fed up and I'm going to do something, about it. So why don't I just make a film? A couple of things. I mean, well, first of all, just so you guys know, I mean, Dorothy has been given awards since this and all that. I think for me, I was just interested most in this because of, what it said in some of the press notes about how you wanted to take a particular look at this regarding like systems rather than race, like because of, what has been sold is that, people of color aren't getting this because they're, like this, fill in the blanks, rather than maybe there were or are a lot of people who are interested, but for different reasons in terms of procedure and access and blah, blah, they weren't able to. That story was maybe not well examined, shall we say, in the media. And I think, wasn't it like 39 miles or something before Dorothy that one had to travel from Panola to get to the closest place that had a vaccine? So that's like, pretty much of a distance. So for her to kind of take this on, and you guys, I really do hope that you see the film because Dorothy's just very, you gotta love her. She's just like, I can say this is African American, she's just like this old school, like black woman who doesn't really, there's no pretense or anything about her. She's just like making it happen, right? And so I just think it was, just very interesting to capture that. What was the most challenging thing around kind of telling this story, you guys, aside from the fact that like, okay, there was COVID and all of that, but just, I don't know whether it was gaining trust of subjects, which a lot of times, documentary filmmakers say there is that bit of a hurdle, or something technical. What was it that you guys had to overcome that maybe you didn't foresee?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think we both went into it thinking that filming in a pandemic would be the greatest challenge that we faced, right? And that was hard, but there were ways that we were able to work around that. We wore masks. We were all vaccinated ourselves. We shot a lot of it outside since it was Alabama in the summertime. I think what stood out to me as we were kind of trying to figure out how do we weave this story together, honestly, all of Dorothy's conversations at the door were so powerful. So really just figuring out what we wanted to highlight in the film and how we wanted to tell that story was a challenge in and of itself. And I think it's really a testament to Dorothy and to the relationship she holds and the trust that she has in the local community. Because we were with Dorothy, we were very much welcomed with open arms by everybody, right? It's like people saw us rolling up with Dorothy and they were like, okay, you're good. Like, you know what I mean? So the trust that she had and she graciously extended to us was a huge gift. And otherwise that most certainly would have been the most challenging part because we would have had no idea where to begin in terms of telling this story and kind of who to talk with, who to feature. But Dorothy knew all of that information and kind of helped us navigate that with a lot of grace and poise.
How interesting.
And as you see in the film, right, Dorothy doesn't take no, right? She is a force to be reckoned with.
Right.
And what we don't see in the film is like she was bringing that same energy to making the film, right? So she was like producing it in a lot of ways, and when Dorothy asks, like, it's gonna happen, so all of a sudden, I don't know. It was honestly
like exec, producer, and subject all at the same time. I could totally picture that.
Yeah, and so in a lot of ways, it was actually very easy, right? This project was kind of a dream where, I don't know, there were usually making a film is like, you just keep hitting obstacle after obstacle and you have to be stubborn enough to keep going. And this film was the opposite of that. I mean, it was really our highlight of our time down south was getting a chance to make this.
That's like a great thing to hear. I guess you guys should keep Dorothy as your good luck charm on going forward. A couple of other things. I mean, I think just to kind of keep things balanced. Did it ever, come up at all that, great for her organizing, this for those who wanted the vaccine, et cetera. Flip side of that, the fact that there is no access via the Freedom of Information Act on anything around trials and more around the vaccine for a minimum of 55 years, as reported by Reuters. Did that Does she know about that? Did that give her any hesitancy at all in terms of the lack of transparency around this, or that really was not, never played a factor, any of like the kind of weighing out? I mean, for you guys or her, did you have any interaction with that at all, or not really?
This vaccine's been through such rigorous testing, and it really is just such. It's a miracle, right? We should have had to have waited years, right, for something this good to come along. But it kind of shows what can happen when you put so much resources into, making, right? Like, imagine what our world could do if we kind of put the immense resources that are needed into big problems like a global pandemic. I mean, there are incredible solutions. So this was never, Dorothy was on board from the beginning. And honestly, there wasn't, there's, to your point earlier that, there are these kind of media misconceptions about communities of color in particular. There was, in all of our time traveling around with Dorothy and Miss Jackson going door to door, there was very little, vaccine resistance. The main barrier for people in Panola were the structural problems, as you mentioned.
I wouldn't say miscommunication. I think that is very, very real. It's just that the other side hadn't been shown, which you guys are talking about in terms of systems. Right, but the hesitancy for a number of different reasons, going back to Tuskegee and experiments and more, that's very real. Let's not say that is, but I think it's very cool that you guys could divorce that part of the conversation and say, but no matter what this was, even if it was a vitamin C, you wouldn't be able to get this in Panola. And what is the story with that, and how does that affect rural communities and rural communities of color who want something, whether, the conversation is not good or bad or pro or con. If you want something, why is it so challenging for you to be able to get it in this area? And I think that it brings up a conversation that's important to have. And it's great that you guys were able to, add to that narrative. Because like I said, I had not really seen that, and I'm a media junkie. So, I was glad to be able to see additions, for that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, so right. It really truly is like a structural issue, as you're saying, right? As you mentioned, the closest hospital where you could get a vaccine is 39 miles away. These are, country roads. A lot of people don't have cars. People don't get time off from work, right? Like that. Those are the barriers. Right? In
2021, you think maybe, 1890, but still, very much the case in a modern country, in a major state. Unbelievable. But let's just jump for a quick minute, because I know you guys have to go soon. How did you two come to work together?
I can take that one. So we are, we're partners in life, and we're also creative partners. So Jeremy has been making documentary films for over a decade. This is actually my first film. And yeah, I know I'm still pinching myself that I got into Sundance with my first film. It feels totally insane. But, I think that we've always both been drawn to both kind of the creative side of things, and then also storytelling in particular, right? And I've done most of my storytelling work kind of through racial justice organizing and advocacy work. Jeremy's done it through film. And then we had this opportunity when we were down in Panola we were in Tuscaloosa, without much to do, right? Things are isolated. You can't really leave the house very much. There's kind of very little ability to kind of go and live your life in the way that you might normally do that. And so getting to work together on a project felt like a great way for us to channel some of the existential dread and rage that we were feeling.
You guys must really have, what is your secret? Because you are, personal duo, professional duo, and lived through all the COVID lockdown thing and everything together. You're going to be together for the next 150 years, obviously. Whatever the secret is, put it in the chat, and I will let you guys know later, because I'm okay, how? I think that's just really amazing. I've had the opportunity to interview a couple of other filmmakers, primarily in Asia, just by chance. Who are, life partners and professional partners. What's like your secret for doing that? Especially because like this was your first film, and then you have like, you know, a pro.
Right.
You know, you have that dynamic. Did you ever just want to say like to her, like, you know what, I know what I'm doing, like just down? Or like, how does that work out? Because I love what must be very much diplomacy and maturity in the relationship, no?
I love the question. I think we work together really well. I mean, I feel like it was a risk. It could have gone terribly.
Right.
But, you know, but Rachel's, even though she hasn't made a film before, right, she's done a lot of work around like that involves storytelling. I mean, so much of the racial justice work is about storytelling in general. And so she had a really good sense of story. I mean, I think there were a few times in the edit where she'd be like, let's try this. And I'm like under my breath, I'm like, that'll never work. And then we like, I'm like, fine, I'll do it. And then I was like, oh, that's brilliant. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It could have gone differently, but very grateful that it worked.
I totally love it. How can viewers keep up with you guys and, you know, any other extensions, who knows, with the Panola Project and so much more? What's the best way, via social, website, whatever?
Yeah, so we can be, if you just kind of on social use hashtag Panola Project, we check that, we'll respond to you that way. On Instagram, the handle is @the Panola Project. And we're going to be working as much as we can in between all of these other things to kind of keep those updated throughout the festival.
And yeah, we're also on Twitter and Facebook, which is just @Panola Project. And I do want to just do a quick shout out. If you are as thrilled and in love with Dorothy as we are, we've started a little petition to try to get the federal government to recognize her with a presidential medal or bringing her to the State of the Union. So you can go to bit.ly /Dorothy medal. That'll bring you to the petition. And we're the final thing I'll say too is just we are super excited. We've started working with Oxfam on developing an impact campaign, and are going to be doing a lot more to come there too.
I have not really heard that much about Oxfam like lately. I remember like when I was in college just last year, Oxfam was like everywhere, and they had like a lot of branding, and people were always out about them. But it's just funny that you bring it up now. It holds a warm place in my heart, but I have not, you know, physically really heard or seen that much about them, and I would dare say maybe almost the last decade. So, I'm glad to hear that. That's great, great, great. Well, I wish you guys nothing but success. Congratulations on Sundance. It is exactly time for you to go right now, so I want to let you go. But really, just continued success on all levels, personal and professional. We will all use you as our good luck charms out here in the real world, for sure. You guys, I hope that you have enjoyed watching this interview regarding the Panola Project. Do try and check it out and follow them. I am, as always, Lauren DeLisa Coleman for the Inside series right here at film.io. Thank you so much for watching.